when suddenly a guy runs up and opens fire, shooting Louis multiple times before running off. But that's the house. Okay everybody, this is mooneydashcam. Today we are in Gravesend, Brooklyn. We're going to be talking about the murder of the owner of the very famous L&B Spumoni Gardens around here. First we're going to be going to Spumoni Gardens to show you guys what that looks like, and then we're going to be going to where he was murdered, and I'll give you all the details along the way. So let's flip this around and get into it. We are right around the block from Spumoni Gardens now. The address to that is 2725 86th Street in Gravesend. Then after this, the address that we're going to, I won't give you the address, but we're going to 12th Avenue in Dyker Heights. This incident happened on June 30th, 2016. So, 61-year-old Louis Barbati, I believe that's how you pronounce that, comes home on a Thursday, like I said, June 30th, 2016, after working at L&B Spumoni Gardens in Gravesend. A place famous for its delicious food and family-owned and ran atmosphere. Now, he wasn't only one of the owners, he was actually the founder's grandson. So, he was a staple of the community. Many people knew him and loved him. So when this happened, it was a terrible situation. Like I said, everyone loved this guy. This place has been around, family owned and operated since 1939. You can see it's like a community gathering place almost. It started in 1938. The original founder went and was making pizza and spumoni in his garage, and would actually sell it with a horse and wagon around the neighborhood in Brooklyn. So this is that place, and then we'll continue on, show you the rest of this situation. So you have the indoor and the outdoor section. Pretty cool atmosphere. Okay, let's get back in the truck, say hello to it. Let's not get hit by a bus. Give it the respect it deserves. So you can see this place is mobbed. Everyone's double parked outside, packed outside. And no pun intended on the mob thing, because there is a little bit of mob drama that follows Spumoni Gardens. Now we are headed off to Dyker Heights, where the murder actually took place. I forgot to mention this up top. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram. I post on there pretty much every single day. Any crime scene photos that can't go on YouTube end up on Instagram, so definitely go check that out. Also, please leave suggestions for future videos in the comments. I very much appreciate that. I get a lot of inspiration that way. And hit the notification bell so you guys can see exactly when I post a new video. Alright, on to the story. It's a Thursday, gets home from work. He's walking to his back entrance of his house. He's carrying a loaf of Italian bread and a paper bag when suddenly a guy runs up and opens fire, shooting Louis multiple times before running off. A lot of articles said he was shot twice, and then a lot more said he was shot 5 times. So we're going to go with that he was shot 5 times. Either way, pretty horrible, but he's laying there face down. Inside the house while this happens is his wife, another woman, and his 2 sons. So they hear these gunshots go off. Neighbors said they heard the shots, then his wife Joanne yelling, "He got shot, he got shot." The neighbors saw the shooter running to an Acura TL in a dark hoodie. Joanne, the wife, right away called 911 after seeing her husband laying face down, shot. All the stuff was confirmed about the guy in the dark hoodie running to a white Acura later when they reviewed the home security footage. They also noticed through that footage that he walked with a limp. It's pretty important information on stuff like this. I'm sure you guys have heard in like crime shows, like, oh, he walked a certain way and that's how we caught him. This is stuff that investigators pay attention to. Police pronounced him dead at the scene. One person high up in the NYPD mentioned that even if he was on the same block as the hospital, he wouldn't have made it. It was that bad of a shooting. And this is a guy that the police force loved. That's a place that firemen, policemen, sanitation workers all go. It's a very big community spot. Everybody knew this guy. So if they could have helped him in any way, they would have. And, you know, same thing for a regular guy, but they personally knew this guy. So after the police took all their pictures, did everything they had to do, they were shocked when they finally picked up his body to see that inside that paper bag he was holding was over $15,000 in cash, making the police believe that it was a botched robbery, but also sparking some suspicion that it may have been a mob-related incident. Because why is this guy carrying over $15,000 cash? It's just not the most common thing you'd imagine. And back in the day, there was some, like I said, there was some mob drama that followed Spumoni Gardens. Police were confused because if it was a robbery, why did he have all of his jewelry on and the money wasn't touched at all? You think if you're going to go through the trouble of murdering somebody, you're going to at least grab the stuff that you came for. But things happen, you know, I can understand. Maybe he didn't mean to shoot the guy, he shot him, he wasn't able to get the stuff that he came for. That kind of stuff happens. But the fact that all this mob relation was attached to it really threw everybody for a loop. Also, the shooter was seen on camera at the restaurant earlier that day. So was he planning this? It's just, there was a bunch of confusion surrounding it. Let's get into why a lot of the people assumed that this murder was a mafia hit. So 4 years earlier, it came out in court by Colombo Captain Anthony Russo's testimony. He said that Geno Lombardi's son worked at L&B Spumoni Gardens, and then they opened up a pizza place called The Square in Staten Island, and it looked and tasted way too similar to L&B Spumoni Gardens. This place is at 1910 Highland Boulevard in Staten Island. I'll put up a picture of what it looked like. This all goes down in 2009. In court, it came out in 2012 that this all happened. So, Francis Big Frank Guerrero, who I actually just did a video that involved him, my last video that I posted involved Francis Big Frank. But in that video, I called him Frank because everything I was looking up said Frank. Francis is a Colombo associate who married into the Spumoni Gardens family. He caught Geno, one of the sons, in the basement looking at the supplies. He was looking at the flour and all the kind of stuff they used. And he was pissed off. He said he wanted to hurt Geno because he was looking at all the stuff. So Francis is all pissed off, and he grabs Anthony Russo, the Colombo captain, and then Frankie Notch, who's this tough guy, enforcer, associate. And they take a ride to Staten Island to confront the pizza owner. Frankie Notch starts banging on the window right where they have a sign that says L&B style slices. Now, it's one thing to rip off a recipe and start up a place, which is already, not cool at all. But then to actually make a sign and say you have that place's style pizza and slices, it's so bold, it's so crazy. I guess they figured we're far away in Staten Island, no one will care. But obviously, they caught wind of this and went out there. So the son Geno came out, and Francis starts yelling at him about how he robbed his family. He said, "I'll break your head." And then Frankie Notch, this tough guy, slapped Geno. The Lombardis had some sort of Bonanno connection, so they call up their Bonanno friends, and this all turns into a bigger thing than it needs to be. You could tell how Italian this neighborhood is. This is 14th Avenue, but it's nicknamed Joe the Great Rollino Corner. I wonder what he has of significance to get his own corner. But so Anthony Russo is summoned to a sit-down by Anthony Calabrese, a Bonanno soldier, at a Panera Bread in Staten Island, of all places. Very weird. So the Colombos either wanted a piece of the Square pizza place, no pun intended, which means they'll get a cut of their money weekly, or a set amount weekly of their earnings, or $75,000, a one-time payment. So they're going back and forth. It's really a big ask of somebody over pizza. So the Bonanno Calabrese says, "Are we gonna go after every pizzeria that puts sauce on their slice? Also, Spumoni Gardens has a specific way of making their pizza, at least their specialty, like Spumoni L&B slice, is the sauce goes on top of the cheese. And this square pizza place was doing the same thing. So it was like a clear ripoff. So Anthony Russo agrees with Calabrese, saying, what are we going to shake down every pizzeria? The Lombardos, I guess, just wanting to settle, agree to pay $4,000, which is like insane, almost an insult to offer up $4,000 after they just asked of you $75,000. But I don't know. Anthony Russo, the Colombo Captain, must have been like, what the hell are we doing here? So he tells Francis, just take the offer, like drop this pretty much, take the offer and let it go. So he agrees. Calabrese, the banana soldier, took $1,500 because he helped sort out the deal. $500 goes to the Colombo Consigliere, which is kind of just how they do stuff, and then $2,000 to Francis. So all this ridiculous BS for him to get $2,000 at the end of it, it just seems crazy. Now this is in 2009, when like this is like what the mob turned into. You had these crazy, you go from John Gotti like running New York. Even before that, the mob literally ran everything in New York, and now you have a guy shaking down a pizzeria over similar sauce, and after a sit down and a slap in the face, gets $2,000, and he's happy with that. It's like, doesn't it just kind of seem like a joke? I don't know. Hey, I'm not here to judge anybody. I'm just telling the story. So, the possibility of this murder being related to this whole pizza sauce incident was ruled out by police. They investigated it because they pretty much had to. They assumed that it wasn't connected, but you know, they have to check all their boxes, so to speak. All right, we're pulling up on the house now where this happened. Like I said, I'm not going to give you guys the exact address. It's not super hard to find, but just out of respect to the family. And this really didn't happen too long ago. So I don't even really want to get close to this house because they've been through enough dealing with, you know, a murder here. But that's the house. And then we'll cross over. And this white fence in the back there is the steps he went up. I'll show you crime scene photos of this whole situation. I don't believe he actually was shot on those steps. I think it was farther in that he was shot. But yes, this is where this happened. There's neighbors out. I don't want to be that guy. We won't stay here long. Go back in front. And moving on. Can we cross here? Okay. That is the house. I would stick around longer, but I don't want to bother anybody. Back inside the truck to end off the rest of this story. So they put together the $15,483 was a bonus that all the owners of Spumoni Gardens got a few times a year. So that's the reason why he had that cash on him. So it all added up there. The police offered $2,500 for any info leading to an arrest for the situation. And then the family themselves offered $50,000 for tips leading to an arrest. Somebody eventually called. They put out security footage of the guy and what he looked like. Someone eventually called and gave him up. He was identified as 42-year-old Andres Fernandez. Police went to his house and everything matched up. It was almost like, you know, they had everything they needed. The limp, his car was a right accurate TL in the garage. The clothes he was wearing, they found in his house. They checked the cell towers back to his cell phone. He was in the area of that time of the crime. There was also a business card in his house, and on the back was their home address written on it. So they pretty much had everything they needed to make sure this guy was the actual killer. So that white fence that I showed you all the crime scene photos at, there were 2 bullet holes in that white fence, and an FBI agent said in court that on camera he's seen putting on a black glove and holding a handgun before he crosses the street to go shoot the guy Louis. He ends up getting arrested November 3rd, 2016, about 5 months after he actually murdered the guy. He got a lawyer instantly and made no statements, so there was no little insight on what happened just yet. And he was sentenced to 24 years to life, second-degree murder, and second-degree weapons possession charges. It never came out why he did this. People speculate it was a botched robbery. It could have just been like a crazy guy, because sometimes that's just what these stories are, just a crazy guy that decided that day they were going to kill somebody, and he was kind of a known person. And who knows? We don't know. That's the crazy part about the story, is that all this went on and we don't have answers. As Louis's wife Joanne made an emotional speech in court, this guy Andreas didn't seem like he cared at all. He sat there unfazed, just like how it bothers all of us that there's no motive, that we don't see anything clearly there why he was killed. The family is tortured by the fact that they don't know why this happened. I mean, you have someone who came and killed your over the curb. We don't like that. You have somebody that came and killed your husband, father, cousin, staple of the community, and you don't have an answer as to why. It's really, really a tough situation for them, and you can understand why. I think that's pretty much everything I have to tell you about this situation. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye.